Welcome to the Civil War Digital Digest. I'm your host, Jeremy. Thanks to the Waterloo Area Historical Society for giving us this wonderful place to be able to bring this episode to you. And I have a special guest today. This is Felicia, my wife, and she's here because one of our favorite things to do, and some of the most early things that we did when we were dating as a couple, was actually doing historical cooking and finding things in different cookbooks from 100 years plus old and seeing how they turned out. So that experience really is what brings us to today. And today we are bringing you a recipe out of the Beadle's Dime Cookbook, and this came out in 1863, and it is entitled Griddle Cakes. So a couple of really simple ingredients to put this together. The first thing is it calls for buttermilk, and as a substitute you can use soured milk. So what we have here is a quart of fresh milk, or what could be called sweet milk at the time, and we need to sour it. And we're going to do that by adding a little bit of vinegar. And grab the vinegar and pour some in. And the proportions, really, you just need to add enough to where it sours. Really that point of just starting to curdle a little bit, and that's going to be a really good substitute for our buttermilk. So while we let that sit, we also need 1 egg. So I'm going to crack an egg and drop it in our mixing bowl. All right, it looks like it started to sour on us. I can smell it a little bit too, so we're calling that ready.
If you kind of give it a shake, you can see how the top is all just like a little skin over top of it. That's what you're looking for.
We're going to pour that into our egg. And I'm going to beat the egg in there real quick. There we go. We got our quart of soured milk, 1 egg. Now it calls for a dash of salt. I'll go ahead and put a dash of salt in here.
Just more than a pinch.
A little bit of flavoring. Then it doesn't give proportions like so many other period recipes out there. It just says add enough flour to make a thin batter. It's pretty open to some interpretation. So we're going to start making a consistency to where it's kind of like a thin pancake batter. And scoop some of that in there. And it says to beat the flour in, beat the mixture. All right, so we're starting to thicken up here. And we're just been adding it little by little. I'm trying to make sure we don't get any big lumps in there. All right, so it looks like it's come together here for us. We got a pretty thin batter. And I don't want to overwork it either. The last ingredient, it says a heaped teaspoon of soda or baking soda.
So one of the things you can actually do to measure a teaspoon is use your hand. If you hold your hand somewhat closed, you create a teaspoon. If you open it up a little bit, you create a tablespoon as a rough measure. So I'm going to measure about a teaspoon, and we're just gonna.
There we go. And what the soda is going to do is create that air and that lift as we're cooking it, so make it a little more airy, not such a dense dough. It's getting our cooking surface here ready, and we got a trivet and putting hot coals from the fire. So we're just outside the fireplace on the hearth. Give us a little bit more control to put our skillet on. We got our skillet here warmed up with under some coals on a trivet. And Felicia, you can grab the butter, throw some butter in there and get that melted in there so the batter doesn't stick. Got the butter melted, it's time to put in the batter. And in the Beadle's Dime Cookbook directions, it says to use a large spoon to ladle it into the pan. Got the batter poured in, and what I'm really looking for is to start to see those edges are firming up, cooking. starting to turn a little brown, giving me a good indication that it's getting firmed up on the other side before I flip it. You can see some of those bubbles popping. That's a good sign. Let's see how this goes.
Oh, looks good.
There we go. First one actually is looking pretty good, and so often that's not the case. I always feel like making pancakes and things like that. The first one sometimes is kind of a loss, but this one's looking pretty good. What do you think?
It almost reminds me of a potato pancake in looks.
Just by the texture and look. So this one is done. So we're going to pull it out of the pan, and Beadle's Dime Cookbook says to put these on a warmed plate until they're ready to serve. So Felicia can grab that plate that we have warming there by the fire. And there's one griddle cake. We'll set them back down. Does it smell
Smells
pretty good? Let's get another one ladled in there. We got another one here that's all cooked up. I'm going to pull this off. And
dredge it in butter.
Why don't we give these a try, and then we can finish cooking up the rest of that batter. All right, we have 2 griddle cakes here prepared, and we're going to give them a try. Now, it does say in the Beadle's Dime Cookbook that put them on a warm plate like we did, and serve them immediately. It mentions that if you can't serve them immediately, that they should be buttered while they sit and wait to be served. So since we're eating these immediately and we cook them in butter, I think we're in good shape on that. So let's give these a try. Pretty good. It was good. Pancake-like, a little airy. Got a little bit of crispness on them from cooking in the cast iron skillet there. A little bland, probably maybe some maple syrup, powdered sugar, something along
Jellies
those.
or jams.
Maybe some jellies or jams would really punch this up. This would be a nice, I think, accompaniment to maybe a meat dish and in place for the bread, or a breakfast food, obviously. So thank you for joining us in this episode of Civwar Digital Digest. Hope you enjoyed it. You enjoyed our time cooking with us. Please like the episode, share it out, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and as always, thank you so much for our patrons that make things like this possible. See you next time.